Hey guys, welcome to a very special episode of the Unfiltered podcast by Only Human Studios. With me, Kyle, and we got Sara here as well. Welcome in, guys. What we're going to discuss today is PCOS. As you might be aware, September is PCOS month, and essentially we want to just have a kind of deep dive into what it is, what you can expect. Sara's kind of had a personal journey herself. So we were kind of just having a conversation. We were like, we want to kind of have a little bit more awareness around this topic. And to be honest, I knew nothing about it. So I will learn along with you guys.
which I did find shocking.
Yeah, exactly. To be honest, we were having this conversation and I was like, I don't really know anything about it. So Sara, hello.
Hi, how are you?
How are you?
I'm good.
So honestly, I think we kind of just jump straight in, to be honest. And kind of, obviously, like I just said, you kind of have your own PCOS journey. So kind of, can you tell us a little bit about it? How did you kind of find out that you had it? And get us started.
Honestly, again, just the fact that now we have this awareness around it and now we have so much, I want to say, content and information and knowledge when I was never actually diagnosed. When I lost my period or when I had irregular cycles, I was told that it was because of my weight and nothing about PCOS was mentioned. And obviously then what did I do? I went back and I started doing all of this HIIT training, cutting out my calories to half of what I was supposed to be eating, basically doing everything that I could to almost harm my body and accelerate whatever I had going on. It wasn't until way later when I found out I had PCOS. And then the first thing was they kind of just say, well, here, go on the pill or just fix your hormones, and no knowledge or awareness was there about it. So when people always ask or when people speak about it, how was your diagnosis and how did you find out? It was one of the most terrible times of my life. But again, we're at a time right now where there is so much information and so much help. And
do you feel like the information that is provided online right now, or whether it's kind of like Instagram or TikTok or kind of more like medical information, do you find that information is relevant, or is there kind of a lot of jargon around it, or can people find quite concise information quite easily?
I think you have to filter it. Everything. You just have to filter it. And you have to understand that, again, I can't look at someone on the internet and say, oh, they have PCOS and we're similar. So exactly what she's doing, I need to be doing to either help my situation. So I think with everything, we always speak about what's out on the internet, you have to filter it. And at the same time, you have to go and sit with someone and sit with a doctor and understand your body better.
So what is something that kind of now that you potentially didn't know before?
I wish I understood the importance of tracking. I wish I understood the importance of you have to get to know your cycle and your body and what works for you better. You have to know what you're going through, because you can't walk in and say, I have PCOS and I'm going to look at all of these symptoms. And you know what? I'm supposed to have all of these symptoms and this is what it's going to relate to. So I wish I knew how important it was to track your cycle. I wish I knew how important it was to track how your energy levels are and how your bloating is or how your gut is and how your insulin levels are. So I think nowadays we have so many tracking devices. Yeah. We've got so much information out there. I think these days doctors are doing a phenomenal job as well on being out on these kind of platforms of social media and talking about things. So yeah. So
do you obviously then track yourself?
Yeah, of course.
Do you use an app? What do you use?
My Aura ring is it's something that has really changed my life, especially in understanding stress and your cortisol levels and how you're sleeping, because that's a very, very important factor in managing your PCOS. But at the same time, yes, tracking my cycle, you understanding how many days are in between, understanding how my cycle is, when my cycle is. And then again, going back to, understanding that there isn't, unfortunately, and I don't know if you know this, but there is no pill. I can't put you on, but a doctor cannot put you on any medication if you have PCOS. There's no magic pill for PCOS. PCOS, you work with definitely a doctor and you make lifestyle changes and it goes hand in hand in order for you to manage your PCOS.
As a kind of fitness instructor from my side, obviously kind of in a fitness industry that's probably 75% kind of dominated by women. What kind of small changes or what kind of potentially could I do as like a fitness instructor or something like that to either not necessarily like help someone, because obviously like I'm not a doctor either, but like, is there small things that you could do or you could recommend or anything like that from like a kind of fitness instructor side?
I think the biggest thing is awareness, right? Like that's the biggest thing, is being aware of the fact that you might have people walk into your class and say, oh, by the way, I have PCOS.
Yeah.
Or you might have a PT client that says, by the way, I have PCOS. And one of the myths was, oh, just kind of don't train a lot. Don't put your body through all of this high intensity, fair enough, interval training. Like don't do HIIT, but that doesn't mean don't do strength training. And I think that's, you see that a lot. Like, I mean, females have to strength train.
For sure.
It is really important for us. It also, for PCOS, it really manages your insulin levels. But at the same time, I mean, you're building muscle. It's so important at every age or every stage of your life and your cycle, and whether it's PCOS, and I'm actually going to go in and say whether it's perimenopause, menopause, strength is so important for women. And I think every instructor or trainer should know that it is. When I'm sure you have people come up and say, am I going to get bulky?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. What you're kind of saying is kind of use training as kind of like an assistant to kind of like the tracking and these things, right? So what if someone is tracking their kind of like their cycle and their days and all these things? Is there anything out there that you should be like, if A, B, C, D is kind of happening, you should potentially start thinking about maybe like it's not just that your period's late or these sorts of things. Is there something that maybe kind of the people watching or listening should be like, these things might be triggering and then I maybe need to go get myself checked out?
I think first of all is going, like, don't be afraid. I think that's another thing, right? Like as a female, get your hormone panel done. Understand what's happening in your body. Again, I went back, like when I said at the start, tracking is really important. Understanding your body is really important. Yeah. Don't be afraid. I think sometimes we're very afraid of going to doctors because we feel like we're going to get shouted at.
Yeah, for sure.
And I know, again, I was there. I was there when I sat across from a doctor and I said, please just like help me with anything. And it was like, well, no, it's your fault. And look, that was my experience. And I think nowadays, like I work with doctors right now, and I think they're so helpful and they're so understanding, and so don't be scared to go and get kind of that medical advice. And please don't just sit there and start self-diagnosing yourself out of all of these things and being okay, well now this is happening and that's happening and this is what I need to do. But most importantly, understand lifestyle matters, Kyle. Like one thing is what we spoke about, strength training, but the other thing is don't just go and cut out carbs altogether.
Right.
Don't, have those like omega-3 fatty fish or chia seeds or avocado, like have that good quality fat in your diet. Eat like balanced meals, eat your fiber, track kind of your B12. Like please make sure that you're eating balanced meals and you're not almost punishing your body by being like, oh, if I'm gaining weight, if I've got all of these hormonal imbalances, now I'm just kind of going to go against the grain and almost beat myself up about it. Because I need to fix this. Yeah.
I think that's something that kind of comes into people training in general, right? Like people are like, oh, like maybe I'm obese, maybe I've got diabetes, maybe I've got PCOS, maybe I have ABC. It's like, okay, let me cut out every single thing that I either enjoy or might be actually beneficial. And it's like, okay, let me have like crash diets or let me train 7 times a week, when probably like you're kind of saying that these things might actually be counterintuitive, right?
But you've also seen it, right? Like you've always said to me when you train females, you're like, some of them, they want like all of these changes to happen within a set amount of time. And you're like, you can't train like an athlete, or you can't train like a male. Yeah. It's not possible.
Yeah. And I think that what does happen is kind of, obviously you kind of need to sacrifice one thing for another thing, right? Like if you want to start training high rocks, for example, you might lose aspects of strength. If you want to kind of start running marathons, you might lose aspect of strength. But if you, like, it's very hard to kind of have that balance, but also then have the acceptance that, yes, okay, maybe I might have to sacrifice one thing to get better at another thing. Because like you said, like we're unfortunately, we're not athletes. We're not going to the Olympics, right? Like, so, but then take us through maybe, so I did a little bit of research before we came on air, which was, was it 1 in 10 kind of women potentially are affected by PCOS. So what I'm thinking about that is that if I'm in a class of say 20 or 30 women, maybe 2 or 3 people in that class actually have kind of PCOS, either have been affected by it or kind of have it right now. What kind of things would you sort of advise to someone who has either been kind of like recently diagnosed or has PCOS that can potentially help them rather than just being like, go track or these sorts of things?
I think it's a combination of things. And maybe one of the things that I learned, again, which I was like, oh, is it this simple, is sleep. Okay. Your sleep matters a lot. Your hormones, when you have any kind of hormonal imbalance, your hormones are out of whack. And by you not sleeping is just going to not help you regulate your hormones. And sleep, stress levels, kind of managing your stress levels, that's extremely important. And again, we're in this culture right now, right? This hustle culture of, oh, I've got like the amount of times I open up my Instagram or I speak to people, they're like, you know what? I've got 3 jobs and I'm doing this. And then it's okay. Like I skipped a meal here and then I did this. And what's that doing to your blood sugar levels? And we are talking about your insulin resistance. We are talking about your hormones. We are talking about your ovaries. So all of these things are tied. And I think the overarching thing here is it's lifestyle. That with PCOS, I think one of the biggest things is, again, I go back to it, there's no magic pill. If you are somebody that has PCOS, you're not going to get a subscription that's going to treat it.
Yeah, for sure.
You've got to put in the work. You've got to, first of all, understand your body, but then you have to find that balance. And that's really important. And honestly, I'm making it sound easy. It's really difficult.
This might be a really kind of very broad overriding question, but it is, you can kind of cure PCOS by lifestyle changes.
So
right?
Look, you can live with PCOS. Okay. And yes, you can, I had 6 cysts at the start, and that was so many factors as well that were happening at that time. And yes, over the course of the couple of years, and when I started like losing the weight, when I started understanding how to manage everything, when I started studying and really understanding everything, I was able to really get back on track. And now I have like my regular cycle. And, PCOS also, people don't realize like it leads to a lot of hyperpigmentation. And again, I didn't know that. I was just told that, oh, because you're gaining weight and because you're probably not eating well, and it's projection. I think, again, it comes back to like, that's why your skin's like that, or that's why this is like that. And I think it's important to understand that you can live a very healthy life and you can manage your PCOS symptoms. You can control them.
I think that's really important, because I think that like, whether it's PCOS or whether it's anything, right? It's like you almost get this kind of like diagnosis, and it's like, oh my God, like I can't live with this, or my periods are going to be all over the place, and like I have no control and all these sorts of things. But then just kind of give us a little bit of kind of insight on potentially how PCOS might affect like kind of pregnancy or kind of these sorts of things.
What I'm going to say, you just kind of said it right there, is that you think, if I'm going to go back, you asked me that question about like, what would be my advice to someone? I think my advice would be, please don't listen to that whole narrative that because I have PCOS, my life is over. Yeah. Because I have PCOS, I can't do this. Because I have that, I'm never going to drop the weight, or I'm never going to be able to have regular cycles, or I'm never going to have my metabolism and my gut. That narrative is not correct. Yeah. And a good doctor will tell you that it is in your control. And somebody, me through coaching and what I'm doing right now as well is helping people get on track with their lifestyle, with their plans, and again, it's going back to it. Your life is not over. Yeah. That whole thing, that I think that narrative, that really kind of, again, you need to realize that I'm right now talking years after healing and dealing with all of that. But as a young girl that you've just started, let's say, getting your period, and a couple of years in your teens, you get PCOS, or early 20s, you're very lost.
For sure.
And you think it's over.
Yeah. So then, again, this might be a completely like random kind of statement, but probably too much information. Just kind of, I know this because I work at a fitness facility. I swear. Obviously now there is kind of like the direction where like kind of feminine hygiene products are going kind of like down the kind of organic route and these sorts of things. Is there any kind of link between those sorts of things that potentially, depending on the kind of like the kind of sanitary products that you use, can that have any like effect, or can it have any like kind of can it make it like, do you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, look, I've done like we speak about this as well. I think when we were speaking about like what products come into the studios and everything, I do think like understanding what toxic products are, understanding what to use and what not to use. Like, again, there's so much information out there. And yes, it is important. It's important what we put inside our bodies. It's important what we use. But that's a part of it. Again, I think what is really important, and I think you must see it a lot, is if somebody comes to you and says, listen, I want to either lose weight or build muscle, but I'm only going to do one thing. I'm going to train 3 times a week. I'll go crazy, but I'll eat what I want. I'll sleep when I want. I'll do what I want. Is there going to be a change?
Yeah. No.
So it's the same thing with PCOS, right? It's a lifestyle change. There are certain things you need to do. It's managing, again, your insulin levels, your cortisol levels. Your sleep is important. Your food is extremely important. You understanding your body and your hormones. And really, when I say tracking, again, it goes back to what is your body responding to? So again, it's an overall lifestyle management system, I guess, but it's important. And I think now more than ever, it's so accessible again. Yeah. And have that conversation. I think we've always said it, and that's why we started this podcast, is people don't have these conversations.
For sure. I think especially like kind of with these sorts of subjects, right? Like I think people probably kind of our age and a little bit younger are kind of a lot more inquisitive and a lot more kind of like they want to know and they want to find out and all these things. So not necessarily around this topic, but I do think that kind of quite a lot of the information that's out there right now is they take you so far, and it like almost kind of you get to the point and then they're like, okay, end of topic, like we're done. So can you just kind of bring this a little bit kind of more full cycle to be like, okay, if I'm potentially struggling with ABC or like I'm worried about ABC, like where would I understand maybe like, you know, you didn't have this information at the time when it was kind of needed for you, but where would you go to source information or kind of what would you look at or who would you kind of trust? Is there kind of answers for that or?
Look, the first thing is I think to know that you're not an anomaly and you're not alone and you shouldn't shy away from it or feel as if that's it. Like once you get diagnosed, please don't feel as if this is it. My life is over and I'm not going to be able to have normal periods or I'm not going to be able to, again, get rid of XYZ. Because there are so many people. You just said the stats right now. Like there's so many people. And then it's going down the route of get the correct help that you need. So please don't shy away from doctors as well. And you know what? I'm one to say that if you don't feel like you are on the best page with your doctor or you don't feel like you're go and try it out. It's the same thing, right? If the dress doesn't fit, go and try on as many dresses as you want to until it fits. But please go and find someone that you feel comfortable enough discussing things with. And then start working on a plan together. Again, as you know, I work with Sustain Health right now and I work with Dr. Aarti, who I massively look up to just because of her whole approach towards medicine and how she really does believe that you need the lifestyle changes to go hand in hand with, you know, lifestyle medicine. Yeah. So I think that's really, really important. Like work with someone that understands it and work with someone that then gives you a plan and says, let's work on this.
Yeah. And that's honestly what I feel like it is so important because I think that we've been in a situation before where again, like kind of information and kind of ideologies and stuff like that is just kind of like pumped out. But until it's in some sort of like formulative plan for the person receiving the information, I do feel that it's kind of like, it's very suggestive, you know? So that kind of, I do think that when you're saying about like tracking apps or devices or these sorts of things or like a kind of plan that someone knows that yes, okay, from day 1 to day 30 or however long your cycle is, like you are on the right track, sort of thing.
And Kyle, you know what? Maybe someone might not have an Apple Watch or have an Aura or want to track it like that. There are other ways to track your cycle. There is an app. There's so much out there that you can do. Again, you don't have to conform, but it goes back to how well do you know your body, and don't shy away from that. Again, as females, we're kind of told like, this is it and this is the information and just roll with it. Yeah. You know what? Just roll with this. And if you miss a period, well, you know what? That's on you. That's not on you. Like there's so much happening. And again, even when you touched upon the whole like low tox, and we are exposed to so much more now than maybe like our moms were, our grandmothers were. So it's information and knowledge, and don't be shy to share it. And I think you said like, what do I want to bring full circle? And what was the whole reason of us even having this conversation is that when you don't, it's a massive emotional part as well. Sure. When you have PCOS and if you're not getting your periods and you're really suppressing a lot of emotion, you're going through a lot of cycles. And again, it's this shame and this guilt and this stigma attached to it. But we're in 2025 now. Sure. And like I said, PCOS Awareness Month, and where I'm having this conversation with a guy who's a fitness trainer. We've come a long way. So like, don't just take yourself out of the equation and just hide in a corner.
And I think that kind of like, as we start to kind of bring this topic to a close, I think that it is important that I'm not saying that you should go and disclose this to your fitness kind of trainers and kind of instructors and these things, but I also do think that there is a little bit of kind of responsibility that should fall on fitness trainers, male or female, to kind of know a little bit more about this subject, to be honest, because I've heard it a lot of times just kind of like in passing, or, oh, I've had this, or, oh, I've been dealing with this or whatever. And to be honest, like until we're having this conversation now, I'm not going to say that I've just kind of let the topic slide, but I almost felt like, I don't really know what that is, to be honest. Yeah. So I'm glad that we've kind of had this conversation, and I hope that people listening kind of see it from both sides, that like, yes, okay, what you're saying, that the person who is not suffering, but the person who has been diagnosed isn't alone. But then also like there is so many different things kind of like around you and people that can support you in so many different ways, right? And
it's all manageable, right? That's the thing. And it goes back to what we've always spoken about, wellness or well-being or fitness, is that don't just blindly follow trends. Yeah. It goes, I think the simplest thing goes back to the whole HIIT exercise thing, right? Like you don't need to push yourself really hard in the gym and go through all of that, because if you've got PCOS, you should be focusing on a different kind of training.
Nice. Cool.
Thank you.
Well, there we go. So honestly, guys, thank you so much for joining in. Like we've kind of just discussed now, we are going to be kind of moving a little bit more into, sometimes we might have kind of like hot topic, kind of shorter podcasts that are kind of around PCOS, around kind of mental health, kind of males kind of health as well. So watch out for these coming in the near future. And Sara, thank you for kind of having this conversation with me. And there we go. Don't forget to subscribe, YouTube, Spotify, and we'll see you in the next one. Thank you guys. Take care.